Hi, my name is Michaela Vargas, and I'm here with Earl, and he is a math tutor here at Damonte. And I would like to ask him a couple questions involving Anti-Bullying Club. So I was wondering how you got involved with our group.
I got involved primarily because I was bullied quite a bit as a kid, and I wanted to try to make sure that as few kids as possible would be bullied here. I'd like to eliminate bullying altogether. That's probably unlikely, but if we can minimize it, that would be a good goal. So my intent is to try and get bullying reduced as much as possible.
If you don't mind, do you think you could elaborate a little bit on your story?
I can. When I was young, 2 years old, we didn't have all of the medicines and prescriptions and things like that we have now. And I caught a disease called pertussis. Pertussis is the P in the DTP shot the kids get now. So you're immunized for it as a child now. I was not, because the medicine did not exist. So what happened was I caught this disease and my lungs were damaged by the disease, which made me very unathletic. And that's a bit of an understatement. I was very unathletic. So I was the slowest kid in the class. I was kind of icky and nerdy, and so what happened then was the kids who were not icky and nerdy, a lot of them felt like they could pick on me, and they did quite a bit. And through, I guess, middle school and senior high is when it became physical. Before that, it was mostly verbal. I still endured verbal picking on, if you will, through high school. I was the proverbial last kid picked for the softball team and all that kind of stuff. But I used to get beat up a fair amount. So kids would like track me down and beat me up. One time I was riding my bike through a park, and a kid rode his bike up next to me, knocked me off my bike, beat up my bike first, which I think hurt his hands a little bit, which was good. And then he proceeded to beat me up, got back on his bike and rode away. So then I got back on my bike and rode home. So that kind of thing was very damaging to any kid, and I just wanted to see if I can make sure that as little of that happens going forward as possible.
So would you say that when you were bullied, do you think that that affects you today?
It still does. The people who know me would tend to say that I'm not an insecure person, but I really am. And what's happened is over time I have learned to mask my insecurities because nobody wants to work with an insecure person. But I still have those insecurities that just surface every now and then, usually when I'm alone, thinking about how I want to do things and things like that. But it still does affect me. When I left high school, I have never, ever gone back to my high school. I didn't go back for the reunions. I didn't go back to see people after I got out of high school. I just put that chapter in my life behind me and went on to college, where I did not get beat up, by the way. College was a much better environment for me. And so it still does affect me. It's amazing. I'm 57 years old. I graduated from high school 40 years ago, and it still affects me.
So do you have any positive effects that came to you after all of this bullying? And
I would say this, there are zero, as in none, no positive aspects of bullying. However, in a person's life, whenever you face a trial or a tribulation, there's some difficult situation, there's an opportunity to grow. And that's the same thing with bullying. So if you're bullied, you have an opportunity to grow. I think you'd be much better off without that. There's other opportunities to grow in those ways. But I did gain some strength, and I did gain some interest in mathematics, which is what ended up being my career, and what I do here at Damonte Ranch High School was tutoring kids in math. And that interest was spurred somewhat by being bullied, because I wanted to be the best there was at something. And that drive came partially from that. It also came partially from being poor, because my family was poor back then. So I don't know how to distinguish how much of it came from being poor and how much of it came from bullying. But it was the response to that bullying that I think created that. Some people will respond positively to situations, some will respond negatively. For me, it was, I had no choice but to respond in a way that would make my life go in a positive direction. So would I have much rather not been bullied? Absolutely. I would have much rather not been bullied. And I think I'd be a much better person today. I'd be not insecure. I'd be much more comfortable with everything that I do. I think I probably would have accomplished everything in my life that I did. I would just be a little bit better off. But I was, and it became part of who I am. And I just don't think there's any real positive aspects to having been bullied. But again, how you respond to it, that is where any positive comes out.
Okay. Thank you for talking with me today, but is there any final comments that you would like to say before we go?
If I could just address the kids that are watching this. If you've seen me around school, you know I love the kids. They're the most important people in the world to me. I love the staff here at Damonte Ranch. I love the teachers here at Damonte Ranch, but most of all, I love the kids here at Damonte Ranch. And if you're bullying somebody and hurting one of those kids, I feel you're hurting me. And please don't do that. And I guess I'd like to just close by saying, don't beat up Earl, or anybody else for that matter.